Did you check out the YouTube of me and Mayo doing the 3 mile run?
Yes, I did see that,
Did
and
you?
I was intrigued as to why you chose to run it in a suit, which I know he asked you partway through.
Yeah.
But more importantly, your choice of footwear.
The flip-flops.
Yeah.
Well, the suit was... I mean, I have an absolute... I just hate that jock thing about, I'm going to do some sport. Yes, I've got to have the right kit, right, and I've got to have the right, shorts that don't rub on the inside of my thighs, and I've got to have all this stuff, and I've got to, wax bits and rubbish. My whole... if something was chasing you, you just run. You wouldn't go, I'm terribly sorry, I haven't got my Nikes. You just run in whatever it was. So point one. So I think essentially wearing any form of specialist sporting gear is just showing off and really is to be discouraged. And as far as the flip-flops thing is concerned, that happened because some time ago I was in a party and there was some guys around who were all very sporty and they were talking about doing a quarter marathon. They also, of course, can't involve Mark in this discussion because he couldn't run. And I said, you know what, I can't step. Of course I could. Not only could I do a quarter marathon, I could do it without any training and in flip-flops. And they went, yeah, right. And I did. I did a quarter marathon without any training and in flip-flops. And afterwards, I did it in under an hour and I felt absolutely fabulous. The next day, I couldn't stand up, but they didn't see me the next day. It was a principal stand against all form of sporting jockism. Right. Well, let's do 27 days. So Katherine Hagel, who, is obviously clearly very talented. Story is Katherine Hagel is... I like Knocked Up. Let's come back to it. Do you know what a high concept film is?
You're about to tell me.
Okay, high concept is the classic when you can pitch it in one sentence. So, for example, Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger are twins. That's it. That's classic high concept movie. Yeah, okay. I get it. $30 million, fine. So, 27 Dresses, the concept is always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's it. That's the whole film. Katherine Hagel is somebody who's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. She goes around all her friends' weddings doing the wedding thing. She's secretly in love with her boss. Her boss actually is more interested in her sister, it turns out. She goes to all these weddings. She keeps the wedding dress. She believes in weddings. She starts getting followed around by a journalist who writes wedding columns and is deeply cynical about weddings, but in fact, of course, in meeting Katherine Hagel, maybe he's going to write an article about how she's completely bonkers, and maybe something completely surprising is going to happen, which you obviously couldn't predict. Anyway, here's a clip.
You buzzed past me earlier. I saw you changing gowns. You were in 2 weddings in one night, weren't you? It's a little upsetting, don't you think?
Well, they're both really, really good friends of mine, and their weddings happen to be on the same night, so what was I supposed to do?
Oh, no, that's not the upsetting part. How do you stand it? I mean, isn't one wedding bad enough?
I love weddings. I always have.
Really?
Yeah.
Which part? The forced merriment, the horrible music, or the bad food?
Actually, it's meeting upbeat people like yourself.
Love is patient. Love is kind. Love means slowly losing your mind.
What is it you do again?
I'm a writer.
Right. This is my building.
I got it.
No, I got it.
Sure?
Yeah. Hey, what's... No, he's gonna be right back. Hold on.
Don't you think it's a whole lot of ritual for something that, let's face it, it's got about a 50-50 shot of making it out of the gate?
Oh, how very refreshing. A man who doesn't believe in marriage.
I'm just trying to point out the hypocrisy of the spectacle.
Oh, that's so noble of you. Do you also go around telling small children that Santa Claus doesn't exist? Because someone needs to blow that wide open.
So you admit that believing in marriage is kind of like believing in Santa Claus?
No. I don't know why I'm arguing this with a perfect stranger, but yes, marriage, like everything good and important, isn't easy. Cynicism, on the other hand, always is. It was very interesting reading you.
Cynicism is always easy, and I think that's my cue. So, you can pretty much tell how this is going to pan out. Look, here's the problem with all this. It's a 12A certificate movie, romantic comedy. What do they say about it? They say 12A for moderate sex references, like to be familiar to most adolescent, infrequent use of modern. I mean, basically, it's fairly innocuous stuff. 12A, though, however, so there is some grown-up stuff in it. I'm saying this because it's important, because we're in this period at the moment when people are going to want to go to the cinema with their kids. So 12A, check out the website if you want to know exactly what those references are. The bigger problem with the film is this. Katherine Hagel, I think, is clearly very talented, and she is a good comedian. I have a problem with Knocked Up, which is that I think that Knocked Up is, and I hate to sound like, boring old songs, I think it's just a bit sexist. I mean, you can't imagine it working the other way round. If it was the guy who was really, really attractive and had a fabulous job, and the woman who was a slob, and she decided to, stay with him because of the fact they're having it, just it wouldn't work like that. In the end, Knocked Up is one of those movies in which the slobby, nerdy, geeky guy ends up with the ludicrously attractive woman. I don't care about all the other stuff. And now, that's not to say that there aren't things in Knocked Up that are good. There are.
It's a comedy, Mark. It's not a plateau for life.
Yes, it is a comedy, but everything is political, and I'm sorry. It's just all you have to do is see what the problems with it are, and I'm not the first journalist to say this, incidentally. Is just reverse the roles and see whether it worked the other way around. In the case of 27 Dresses, the problem again is, she's a funny actress. She's got comic timing. She's witty and charming, and and I'm sure she has greater range than this material allows her to do. The dialogue is clunky. The construction is terribly derivative. It's a bit Four Weddings, and it's a bit Wedding Crashers, and it's a bit The Goodbye Girl, and it's a bit of everything else, and it all sort of piles on. It shares a screenwriter with The Devil Wears Prada, which looks positively radical in comparison with the way in which this all sort of fits together. And you're just sitting there thinking, I wish she was in a better film, because she's clearly very good, and it's clearly not worthy of her talents. It Knocked Up, what was a much more interesting film. It's just it Knocked Up bothered me a lot more, because I do think in the end Knocked Up is just a male nerd fan. I think the Revenge of the Nerds thing has to stop. I think the Judd Apatow thing, and more of this in a moment, I think the Judd Apatow thing has run its course. I lived through Revenge of the Nerds the first time round. I don't really.
But some of us aren't that old. Let me ask you another question. Is it possible for you?
So cheap.
Is it possible for you?
You're pulling, rank on me because you're younger.
Is it possible for you to go to a cinema now and just enjoy a movie?
Yeah, good film.
Just to let it wash over you.
Yep, good films.
Just
love
go.
Them. Love movies that.
It's not going to change the world. It's not going to win an Oscar, but it's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Case of 27 Dresses. You know what? It's not that film. However, in a week in which The Hottie and the Nottie is out, it is absolutely the default position for hey. It's not because The Hottie and the Nottie is one of those movies that you do come out of thinking, nuclear strike now, but we'll move on.
Okay.